I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hey, leash breakers. Today we're talking about the WNBA. On the court, they're blowing up. We've got record viewership, sold out arenas. There's actually some new teams coming in and billion-dollar attention. But there's controversy happening off the court, and I personally don't blame them. While the league is raking it in, the women behind all of this success, they're all making less than $80,000 a year. And compared to the profit sharing happening over on the men's side, it's appalling. It's absolutely appalling.
Completely agree. It's ridiculous. But they're done being quiet about it. That's the good news. At the WNBA All-Star game, which I believe was just this past week, I don't remember what night, but the players showed up in black shirts and white letters that said it plain as day, "Pay us what you owe us."
Yeah. I'm sure that was quite a sight to see.
Yeah. I mean, it was, they came out with warm-ups and stuff like that, and then they take off their warm-up tops, and it's like, bam, pay us what you owe us. So I don't know that it was known before that happened. I don't know if, WNBA management knew about it. I don't know if the Players Association knew about it, but it made a statement for sure. And it's not about charity. It's not like they're going, oh, please pay us more. We can't afford, blah, 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 blah. No, it's about justice. And this is what it looks like. Last week we talked about the price of silence and what it costs to be silent about something. But this is what it looks like when women stop accepting less and being silent about unequal pay and start recognizing their worth and demanding equity.
I love it. I love it. You're listening to Unleashed AF, the podcast that rips off the mask, exposes the leashes holding you back, and challenges you to lead authentically and powerfully. I'm Deidre Beecham, visibility catalyst and creator of the Medusa Effect. My past taught me how to disappear. Learning
like
made
the guy in the Coldplay video.
Oh my gosh. That was crazy. Oh my gosh, they just disappeared. I've never seen people shrink faster from a jumbotron in my life.
Oh my God.
But I exist now to end the epidemic of female erasure, no disappearing. I help women to take back what the world told them to hide and say what actually needs to be said. And also to be safe in your body, to feel safe in your own body.
Yeah. Which is a beautiful thing. And I am Jenny Badig, certified hypnotherapist, coach, human factors engineer, and liberator of your subconscious superpowers. That's right. I help people understand and unleash what's already inside them so that they can stop sabotaging and start soaring. And together we are leash breakers, dream makers, risk takers. Don't you mess around with us. Still not to the point where I can sing that again yet, or I'd start coughing. But if you guys love what we're about and what we talk about on these shows, hit follow, subscribe, like, all those good social media verbs, and drop your thoughts or comments in either below the video that you're watching, or you can go to our website, unleashedafpodcast.com, go to the page WWJDD, which is What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? And you can leave your comments or suggestions there so that we can see them and follow up with them, or at least categorize them for future shows, things like that. We're here to expose the leashes that exist out there in the world, especially for women, and explore what it really means to be free, and to help you step into your fully authentic, unleashed life.
Yes. Yay. And that's exactly what the WNBA is trying to do right now. They're already doing something they'd love to do. They're doing it well. It's actually absolutely changed the game. The women that are playing right now have absolutely changed the WNBA.
Yeah.
They're technically sound, they're exciting to watch, and so much so it's turned into a billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
And I hadn't heard a whole lot about what was going on. And then Jenny said, "Oh my gosh, you've got to check this out. We need to talk about it." And I'm so impressed, that they organized, and because that's brave.
Mm-hmm.
To come out and say, "Hey, pay us what you owe us."
Yeah.
And I've heard some people on the opposite side of this, people that get all upset anytime women want to get what they deserve. And I'm like, well, they shouldn't get equal pay because that's, if they got the same as, whoever, I don't know who's playing in the NBA right now, but, pick a guy. And that's not what they're saying, right? They're not saying we want exactly what the men are being paid.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saying we want equity. Pay us what you owe us.
Right. And that really comes down to more of like the thing that makes it more about equity versus equality, like equaling what the men get, as when you look at the percentage of revenue. So WNBA doesn't bring in as much revenue as the NBA. That's fine. It's moving up for sure, but it's not matching it. So that's understandable. But the percentage of revenue that gets paid to NBA players is around 50%.
Right. So all the revenue
that's where the revenue in the NBA goes to the players.
Yeah, and that's where all those salaries come from. Half of the revenue that's coming in, 50%,
right,
they get distributed out to the players.
And when you compare that to on the women's side of things, it's only 9% of the revenue brought in by the league goes 9%. To the players.
I mean, that to me was appalling.
Absolutely.
Just absolutely appalling when I read that.
Yeah. So even just comparing the numbers where, there are men who are signing multi-million-dollar contracts for their first year in the NBA. And I don't know that there's any WNBA, even Caitlin Clark, who seems to be, the best thing since sliced bread to come to the WNBA. She didn't sign $1 million contract in her first year. So it's not just the disparity of, oh my God, millions of numbers and not even to $1 million yet for their best player. Because guys that ride the bench on the NBA probably make close to $1 million. And she's like the star of the whole league.
Yeah. So, and you actually have this down here. Caitlin Clark, right? She's the #1 WNBA draft pick in 2024. She had a rookie salary of $77,000.
Yep.
While Victor, the NBA's top pick, had a salary of $12.2 million. Now,
and I've never heard of that dude.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. But you look at that and you go, well, they should be making a lot more. Well, it all depends on the revenue that's bringing in. So obviously it's not going to be anywhere near that. But the fact that they are getting 9% and the guys are getting 50%, that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
And yeah, they are absolutely due that 50%. I don't understand an argument to the opposite. I don't understand.
I mean, there is the whole point of the revenue coming in for the league is because it's entertainment. People are interested in it. They're buying tickets. Companies are advertising during it because they know people are watching it because it's entertainment. You don't have any of that if the entertainers, aka the players, aren't there.
Yeah, and you know what? And the players say it best. Let's have a little clip right here. Let's see if we change this to here.
The best players of the WNBA sent a loud message to the league without ever saying a word. All the players in Saturday's All-Star game took the floor for warm-up, wearing shirts that read, "Pay us what you owe us." The players' union and the league remain far apart in negotiations on a new collective bargaining agreement. The league is taking in record revenue, and the players want what they see as their fair share of that in better pay and benefits. The current agreement expires in October after the season ends.
The players in it, so sorry. But
yeah, I mean, they have absolutely every right to turn that into something that's now a national discussion, right? And bring attention to it. And I think that was a classy way to do it.
oh, it was a a wonderful protest, right? So visual, and
Yep.
again, it got them on the show, right? We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people are talking about it. I mean, I didn't know it until I saw another podcast where it came up, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's something we should talk about." Like, that fits right into what we were talking about last week. Don't be silent. Stand up for yourself. And I've also looked into it. They're not the first pro women athletes to stand up and ask for equal pay. The other time that this was a big storyline was the women's soccer team, the national women's soccer team.
And yeah, they were on a winning streak.
Yeah, they were winning World Cups, and the men's team was not winning World Cups, didn't even qualify, I think, for World Cup one year. Yet they were still getting paid significantly more than the women were, even though they were winning. So it was, it was a handful of them. And I don't even remember for sure. I think it might say somewhere in here what year, but it was back in like the either 2000s or 2010s, where those women from U.S. women's soccer got together and got some lawyers, or player. I don't know exactly what the players union situation is because it's just a national team. It wasn't the whole league, but they got together and pushed for more equal or more equitable pay.
Yeah, it looks like it was 2022.
It was earlier than that when they actually started doing it. It might have taken a while to go through the courts.
Sure.
But they definitely started it after, I was going to say after an Olympics. I don't remember if it was after an Olympics or after a World Cup year. But it was a big story there for a few years. And they made it happen. It worked. Because several of them banded together and were like, look, how do you justify that we're winning these international games and still getting paid squat when the men aren't even playing? And I mean, they don't even make it to this level that we're making it to, and you're paying them like 10 times as much. Makes no sense. So they were able to push that through. And I don't know if that's had an effect on now that there's a women's pro soccer league and a men's pro soccer league in the US. It certainly wasn't drawn up for those leagues. It was drawn up for the national team. So I don't know how much of an effect it's had on those leagues necessarily.
Yeah.
But in doing some other research, I was also very kind of happy to find out that in tennis, I think since the 70s, all the Grand Slam tournaments, so like Australian Open, French Open, US Open, Wimbledon.
Yeah, since the 70s. Yeah, look at that.
They've had equal pay for men's and women's champions. Now, not the other tournaments throughout the year, not equal. But at least those big four have been equal pay for men and women, which is great. I mean, they both get the same TV coverage. You see both finals, televised. Right. And some, it's sports like that tend to get to the point where it's like with the men, they've gotten to the point where it's maybe not as even interesting to watch because like the serves are so fast, you can't even see if it's in or out or like how they returned it. Like it's just too fast. I know volleyball has gotten that way when it gets to like the Olympic or international level. It's not as fun to watch men's volleyball as it is to watch women's volleyball. Women's volleyball still has volleys and stuff like that. So, and to the point where there's not even a men's professional league, but there is a women's professional league. There's actually at least two women's professional leagues now in volleyball in the US. So sometimes it's just plain more enjoyable to watch because it hasn't gotten to the point of being just a power grab or, how hard can I throw this thing or hit this thing or whatever. So even though in tennis, the example is men play best 3 out of 5, women play best 2 out of 3, but you can still get a women's match that goes as long as a men's match.
Yeah.
Because it's that even
Because
that
they're
they
so
keep
equal.
going back
Yeah.
and forth. I mean, it's still pretty intense. So I was really excited to see that was true. I was not aware that had happened in the tennis world. Although even with that, like I said, a lot of the other tournaments are not that way. So even with those being kind of equal, there's some information. Where's the information I got about?
Oh, you're talking about where Novak Djokovic?
Yeah, Novak Djokovic received $21 million in prize money over the 2015 season. Serena Williams got like 10.5 million.
Yeah.
So both of them were number ones at the time, and that's still.
And Serena got half. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. But it's just, I think part of the issue is all of the professional sports I can think of started as just a men's professional sports league, right? So there was much more of a draw for boys as they were young to aspire to something like that. Girls, even if they were playing sports, they had nothing really to aspire to.
When women in sports, so, think about some of the things. Oh, you run like a girl. It's always disparaging about what a girl is doing in a sport. I know they had very different rules for push-ups and pull-ups, all the different physical activities. We had different rules for girls and boys when I was growing up.
Title IX didn't come around, I think, until 1973 or something. So there wasn't equity even in terms of the opportunity for women's sports in college. There were way more men's sports or men's athletes in college than
it's
than
nice
there were
to
women.
see. Yeah, and it's also nice to see that there are people that are in the sports that are expressing their outrage. Like I read that Shaquille O'Neal, right? He said he was shocked over the low salaries and suggested lowering. Now this was he suggested lowering the rims to encourage highlight dunks and boost revenue, but many saw that as tone deaf. But at least he was shocked, right? At least he was shocked at the low salaries and had something to say about it.
Well, and that's definitely a guy way of looking at it, because as we were talking right before we came on live today, and I said, I never had that much interest in watching the NBA, even like when I was younger, until I started hearing about Michael Jordan and how great he was. And I thought, let me check this dude out. I mean, how great can he really be? And once, I don't remember what game it was I watched, but I'm like, he can't miss. This is incredible. But I didn't care about watching anything else in the NBA. I was just like, well, when's the next time he's playing? And he wasn't, I mean, he would occasionally dunk a ball, but that wasn't the key to me. Back like Jordan's time and before, the excitement, it seemed like, for watching basketball was slam dunks, right? It's like, oh man, he just dunked on him. Like, oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, but now everybody can do
regular shot, no big deal. Anybody can do that. But to me, that's not what was exciting. That didn't get me to watch NBA. Because once you've seen somebody slam dunk, it's like, okay, well, yeah, they're freaking 7 feet tall. If they can't slam dunk, something's wrong. But the fact that he could be so consistent from anywhere on the court, that's what made me interested. And so it's interesting that even today, Shaq thinks that we need to make it so that there's more slam dunks, so more people want to watch women's games, versus just, holy crap, they can move the ball, they can shoot threes, they can, like, they're consistent.
Yes.
And maybe that's because that wasn't a big part of his game. He couldn't be consistent with free throws, let alone other shots.
And I'm sorry, but that's always driven me nuts. I mean, it's the one place where you have all the control in the world. You can practice that shot as many hours a day as you want, because it is one shot. It's always in the same place. You have complete control over how long you take to prepare. You can have your own little routine, and yet more male athletes miss that shot,
Absolutely.
which it just seems to me it's criminal. That I I used to tell people when we were watching basketball and say, they should penalize them like $20,000 every time they miss a free throw. That's just ridiculous.
When you're
I
at
could
that
hit more free
level,
throws.
like if
Yeah.
you're in high school, I get it. Like
When
you
it's
haven't
your
quite gotten your
job,
shot
when it's
down.
your job.
It's all you get paid for, and you get paid millions of dollars. There's people homeless on the street because you're out there missing free throws. Like, that's ridiculous. I completely agree with that. The other thing that's close to that, we're kind of getting a little bit off topic, but I can't not mention this. And this is more of a Olympic situation than a pro sport thing, but the men's track team, the relay team, 4x100, has flubbed the freaking baton handoff in more Olympics in the last, I don't know, a couple of decades than they've actually been able to get the baton all the way around. And it's ludicrous because we could have in the individual, like 100-meter dash, we could get gold, silver, and bronze. Like we got 3 of the fastest people in the world.
Yeah.
But, and all 3 of them can be on the relay team, but they can't freaking hand off the baton. I'm like, how? And this is for any male track person. The guy that was my personal trainer for a while was big in track when he was in college. Anytime I brought this up, man, it was, if I wanted like a break in my workout that week or that day, I was like, man, did you see the other day they had some stuff about track and the guys dropped the baton again? He's like, can't believe those people can't get around the track. He'd be distracted for like 20 minutes. I'm like, yes. My uncle was also big into track out of California. And every time this happens, he's like, don't even talk to me about this relay team. I don't want to talk about it. They can't get the fucking baton around the track. I don't understand why. And it's similar to me as like, why can't you make a damn free throw? Because even the baton handoff, now that's a little trickier because you have a limited
Yeah,
space.
because you have 2 people moving at the same time.
But
A free throw.
Every other country has no problem doing it. We're the ones that drop it all the time. And the women get it around. The best women sprinters for the U.S.
Oh, of course
they
they
don't
do.
drop it. So it's just the men. It's like, ah. So yeah, to me, it's like free throws. They called free throws for a reason. It should be a free point. No,
Yeah, it absolutely.
there can be pressure because there people yelling and like waving behind a backboard or whatever. But you can even set up your practice to make something like that happen. So it doesn't seem even that
Sure
unnatural. Ridiculous. So yeah, it's like they prioritize the wrong things. As long as you can dunk a ball or make something that's memorable in terms of how you do a shot, or like there was somebody that had a hook shot, Dr. J or somebody like that had a hook shot that like nobody could stop.
Mhm.
That's great. But you know what? Figure out how to make a damn free throw too.
Right.
Or your salary goes down. I would totally get behind that.
Yeah, I would definitely go for that. Let's get back to the WNBA and what's going on there. I know something that you had written down here is about some of the arguments that are made about why women should or should not get paid more. And the market forces argument. I've seen this argument before, right? So, people will say, well, men's sports generates a lot more revenue through viewership, sponsorship, ticket sales, but it doesn't take into account, right? Historically, men have more money pushed into the sport. And so then in revert, what happens as a result of that, of course, there's a lot more money to be made. There has to be an investment up front. And men's sports get those investments over and over and over again. And so they reap the rewards of that. So in order for there to be a difference, women's sports need to be invested in. It's not fair to say that, well, the reason is because this happens. Well, that's because the investments were made.
Yep.
And there has to be more investment in women's sports.
Yep.
Although we are starting to see more of that.
Yeah. And I think kind of going back to what I was saying before, part of that is just because all the men's sports came around before women's sports. Excuse me. So they're older.
Because
they
women weren't
more,
allowed to be
more
in
established.
sports.
Right. And so that's part of why I think we're seeing women's sports start to catch up to men's sports in terms of popularity. And another thing we were talking about before, not just was I never that interested in the NBA until I heard about Michael Jordan, but I remember trying to watch the WNBA when they first came out, and I was like, oof, this looks very clunky. Like they weren't as smooth. The technique wasn't there because they hadn't been playing that long with the idea that they could play at a professional level.
Right.
So there wasn't as much coaching. There wasn't as much additional opportunity for just time on the court, time with the ball, that kind of thing. And now that we have that, I was very impressed when when the whole Caitlin Clark thing was a big deal. I'm like, okay, well, let me check her out. And I thought, holy crap.
She's pretty amazing.
Not only is she amazing, but the whole league has gotten so much better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the players are more solid now than they were 20, 25 years ago. It's way more enjoyable to watch now than it was back in the day. So there's reasons for people to get more excited for more ticket sales and all this stuff now, because it's not just like, oh, let's try to support women, even though they're not quite, they keeps bouncing off their foot or whatever. Or it's just awkward how they pass the ball. Now it's like, holy crap, they can pass the ball just like the men. Like they've finally been in it enough that they look just as smooth.
And you have higher quality coaching.
Yep.
You have people that understand how it's working.
Yep.
It just makes a huge difference. And there's more money there to get better coaches. So
right. And you have coaches that have been players that are now coaches.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I mean, Dawn Staley is, I believe, a great coach. And she was one of the best players for the U.S. women's team for several years. So when you get that kind of experience and knowledge to the point where they can be coaches, people want to go play for them. They definitely look up to them because they've demonstrated that they know what they're doing. And it's such a richer experience in general. And so, that definitely, I think, to me is one of the aspects of people just got comfortable with, okay, well, the men's league's been around longer. They've had more time to really get better because they've had opportunity to get better. And so, the women's league is like hanging down here. But now we're starting to see where they're going, no, we're just as important, just as interesting to watch, just as much entertainment as the men's league. We need to start getting paid similarly. And I'm happy to see it. I think that's true for women's soccer. It's true for women's basketball. Tennis, we said already, kind of the Grand Slams have evened out the pay. Let's see what else. There's even, I've seen where, the NHL has been around for, a century, I think. So men's hockey has been huge for eons. But now there's women's professional league, I believe, that's going to start up. There are women's college programs in hockey. There's a women's hockey team for the U.S. that goes to like the Olympics and stuff like that. So I can see that growing in popularity as it goes forward too. And I remember when we were watching the Stanley Cup this year, the playoffs, there were so many times when I was like, why are they not equaling out when the puck's on one side, it was like all the guys were on that side. I'm like, no, have somebody on the other side, because the goalie's all paying attention to this side. All you got to do is pass it to the guy on the other side. It goes in right behind the goalie. I said, you know what? When women get to this level where they have a pro league in hockey, they're going to think about that shit, because the guys all just want to be with the puck.
Yeah. More strategy and less bully.
Yeah. Or they want to be, there won't be as well. I won't say there won't be as many fights, because I've seen some wicked fights on a women's indoor soccer team. They're like pulling hair and stuff like that. But
So here's something to address as well when it comes to equal pay in sports.
or equitable pay, at least.
Yeah, equitable pay. We're going to have a real problem with, equal pay. The equitable has to happen. I mean,
Yeah,
women
that
should
needs
be
to happen.
getting 50% of the 50%, just like the men are. That's ridiculous. Of course, it's going to mean that the women's pay is smaller because it is a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Get that. But then it helps to inspire all of the women to do a great job in helping to perform at their best, because look, their revenue goes up if they're performing at their best. But there's something that we're not taking into consideration, and that's going to keep that a little bit lower, is until women are seen people just like men. I think we're going to have a difficult time bringing that wage up for them because of media deals, right? We don't see women in some, we see a very small percentage, but a lot of men get media deals.
Yep.
I remember, I don't watch very many commercials anymore, but I remember growing up and seeing Dan Marino on TV. There are other ones I can't think of off the top of my head. That did all kinds of things, from razor blades to footwear to cereals.
Yep. Shampoo and all kinds of stuff. Yep.
And you just don't see that many. You might see the top woman in a sport. You might see, maybe we see Caitlin Kennedy, but we don't see the other players because that's the only one that's getting the attention, getting the deals.
Yep.
So
like
that
Danica Patrick,
hurts.
for example.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's been in commercials, but she's probably one of the top female athletes that's been in a lot of commercials.
And that's racing,
she's
right?
NASCAR. Yeah, she's NASCAR. Or well, she might do Formula. I don't know if she does Formula 1 too, but and she's the only woman who has broken that barrier. So it's even more kind of name recognition just because she's like the only. But yeah, that's another good point, is that even so there's far fewer women getting media deals, and even the ones who are getting media deals, they are not the same level as the media deals the men are getting.
Yeah, until the perception changes and women are treated the same way as men, as people. We all need to be treated as people. And until that happens, until women are seen that way, I think we're going to continue to have this problem with true equity, because we can do equity with the deals that the league itself gets. But when women get off the field, we're talking about equity being very difficult to get because there is no regulation in place. And until women are seen that way, those wages will continue to be low, those benefits.
Yep. Because it has to get to a point where advertisers believe people want to see women selling certain things or selling whatever they're trying to advertise versus a male trying to sell it. Right? In order to get him anywhere close to a female getting paid similar to a male.
Yeah. So do you have anything else you wanted to add? We want to get into the challenge for the week.
The other thing that will be interesting to see is, they're introducing in the 2028 Summer Olympics flag football. And
really?
Yes, there's going to be both men's and women's flag football in the Olympics in 2028 in LA. And so it'll be interesting to see if, especially if the U.S. women do well, that may spawn a women's flag football league. And so then
Oh,
we have
wow.
another opportunity to have a similar sport. I mean, there's some different rules, of course, but similar enough sport where we can start to see how viewership goes and, you know, who's interested in this and what they can get paid, stuff like that.
Yeah, and if they're happening at the same time, that'll probably be a first.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the plans are after. I mean, I know they're building up to it. I mean, there's already flag football. In fact, one of Jason's daughters played flag football in high school over in Kissimmee, and I didn't even know that was a thing as a high school sport. But he's like, yeah, she played. I mean, she's in her 30s now, so you know, over 10 years ago, she was playing flag football in high school. And so I love the idea of that being a more acceptable version of football that, you know, women can really sink their teeth into and play without having to worry about crazy injuries and stuff like that. I mean, even some of the men getting injured, it's like, we need to figure out how to take some of the danger out of this at this point. Because once they're done playing or whatever, some of them can't even walk upstairs anymore. Like, it's just so much on their
or
bodies.
think
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
in some cases.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be real interesting to see if it just turns into a women's flag football league because there's already men's regular football, or if there's both a women's and a men's flag football.
Well, I hope so. I hope they both come out at the same time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
So I think that one of the best challenges to ask for this week is to do what these women did. These women in WNBA, they didn't wait for permission, right? They didn't wait for permission. They came out, they just took their shirts off and went, here. Well, they're, you know, the jackets, took their jackets off. They didn't take their shirts off. Let's take the jackets off. And then that's it. It's a completely different program. Pay what you owe us. Pay what you owe us. So what is it? Is there something out there that you aren't getting, that you aren't claiming your value in? What is it that's out there? You know, because you weren't born to play small. And you and, you know, Jenny, myself, we were all here to get paid too. So go out there, and if you've been undercharging for your service or not charging for your service, start.
Yeah.
Even if it's something small, start getting the money flowing in the right direction for you. Be clear, be direct, no apologies. Just here's what it is. Maybe you need to raise your prices. Maybe that's what you need to do. But don't apologize for it. And you know what? Stand in your power, stand in your value, and get it done.
Yeah. And I know I've gone through at least 2 or 3 iterations of raising my fees over the years. And each time I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm comfortable with where they are. It's easy to, like, I had logic behind how I broke it down and everything. I had it memorized, but I'm like, it's not cutting it anymore. I need to step up. And I mean, if I lose people because of it, they weren't meant to work with me, because I'm pretty reasonably priced as it is. I'm definitely nowhere close to the most expensive hypnotherapist out there. So, and I've been happy to see that each time I have raised my fees, actually I started to get more clients. So it didn't have a negative effect at all. There was maybe like 1 or 2 people, you know, over the course of months that were like, oh, I don't know if I can afford that. Okay, well, come back to me when you've saved up some money. You know?
Yeah, because that is what you're worth. Yeah. Yeah, good for you.
It can be done.
So at the end of this, go ahead.
Well, this is reminding me of, I think it's been on, I don't remember if it was on Instagram or like Reels on Facebook, maybe some of both. There's like a little stick cartoon, like series of videos. I can't remember what the username is, but it's a lot of different examples. The different videos play out different examples of like an employee whose name is Veronica having a conversation with either her manager or like an HR person or something like that, where Veronica is typically standing up for herself and going, you know, like maybe the manager called her into their office and said, you know, we're going to need to have you work an extra hour each day this week. And because we have some extra work to do, or somebody's out or whatever. And she's like, well, will I get paid for that hour? And they're like, no, it's within, you know, it's part of your salary. You won't get paid for it. She's like, well, why would I? Then next week I can take an hour off each day. And they're like, well, no. She's like, well, why would I just give you free hours? Like, how is that helping me? Like, she's just very matter of fact about it and throws it right back at him. Like, I'll have to make sure I find like the original account, because, you know, people share them and stuff too.
Yeah.
When I find them, I'll post a few to our wall so that people can
great.
share it. Because there's so many really good ones where I'm like, yes, if more people stood up for themselves with corporations or with HR or whatever like this, we'd get more equitability. It's a great little thing. I even have a client who is an HR lady, and I told her about it. She's like, oh, I think I've seen those. And I'm like, yeah, they're really good. And she agreed.
I haven't seen those.
They're spot on. So I'll find that and put it on the website or on Facebook.
Right, awesome. As always, want to make sure that we're not only standing up for ourselves, but also standing up for democracy. So we always want to share a few links for you. One of the ones we like to share is generalstrikeus.com. This is a place where you can go and sign up to participate in the strike, where we percent people signing up for that so that we can do a strike. We really need to do one of those. 5050.1 is another one of the websites. They do a lot of the bigger marches, bigger protests. So, and they're very organized. Indivisible too, but I don't see Indivisible. What else do we have here?
Mobilize.us. Yeah.
Yeah, where is that one? Here it is. Mobilize.us. If there's anything you want to participate in your community, not necessarily a protest, but in helping out your community, although they do have protests on there as well. But you can just put in where you are and what you want to help out with, and mobilize.us can probably help you out. And then one more I want to share. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. 5calls. Sorry, 5calls.org. If you want to be a little bit more active and you want to make phone calls, this makes it easy. You can, it'll tell you based on where you live who your local representatives are. If there's somebody that you want to call on a national scale, you can call into the government, and they'll give you scripts too based on what it is that you want to talk about, what it is that you want to call about. There are scripts there available as well. It makes it super easy to make your phone calls.
Yeah, and I heard on there was some video clip I saw earlier today that I believe it was a senator was mentioning that they're getting 500 times as many calls about the Epstein files being released as they are any other issue that people are calling in about. So they may
Before we started the show, we were talking about, isn't that the craziest thing, that the Epstein files could actually take down this crazy regime, but it certainly made a difference. There are a lot of people, seen a lot of people who are starting to say and come out against them, against this whole regime, who have been avid supporters. And we were mentioning some of them, like Joe Rogan and
Nick
the
Fuentes.
shaman of the QAnon, and
Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes, which I never in a million years would have guessed that.
Yeah.
He would ever come out against Trump. He seemed like he was just sitting in his pocket. That'd be like if DeSantis came out against him.
Even Marjorie Taylor Greene is all up
Right?
in arms about the freaking Epstein thing. So that tells you, like, they do pay attention to what's getting called in. They may not care the specific message that you leave or whatever, but they know the topic. So that's what they're going to pay attention to, is if there's enough calls and it makes it a big deal. It's like, okay, well, we better do something about this.
Mhm.
So,
And they need to hear from us. They need to hear
Yep.
from us.
yep.
All right. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, follow, share. Do not know, Jenny. Jenny's putting a little mark down there going, what are we going to talk about next week? I do not know.
We don't know.
You have a topic, question, or you want to be a guest, please go to our website at unleashedafpodcast.com. Right up on your screen, go to WWJDD. We'd love to hear from you. What would Jenny and Deidre do? And Jenny, you want to close us out?
Sure. Just remember, everyone, you're not too much. You're not broken. The system is. You're unleashing. Keep going.
All right. Take care.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be